So, hello, everybody. My name is Sierra Trask, and we've been doing this Marketing for Success series all through September and October. And this is the very last class of our fall series. So I'm super excited for this one. I know that a lot of people have been interested in Google My Business and search engine optimization. So we're going to be covering those kind of topics today. Just some housekeeping things. If you ever have questions, feel free to raise your hand with the raise hand icon or throw it into chat, and I'll be monitoring the chat. And so both ways are great ways to communicate. And this isn't a class that you have to wait to the end to ask your questions. Like if you want to ask your questions, feel free to ask anytime. And so let's just hop right to it. So next slide. So there are two hosts of the series, and one of them is the program that I run called the Keep It Local Columbia County program. And we're underneath the Columbia Economic Team, which promotes business retention and expansion here in Columbia County. And we're part of that small business focus of the group. And so we bolster the local economy by promoting people to shop, taste, play, and buy locally here in Columbia County. Some of our promotions and campaigns is all around social media is what we're really well known for. So like and subscribe on Facebook and Instagram. But then we also have seasonal generating commerce programs, and I'll just quickly touch on that next slide. And then we also do we also have seasonal programs and things like that. And so one thing I really wanted to let everybody know is that we're doing our Keep It Local for the Holidays campaign right now, and we're signing up all the businesses for it. So what it is for just $75, local businesses and organizations can participate, and they get county-wide free more marketing behind it. And so it's kind of a campaign to get people to be local for the holidays, which is really important. And so as a business, you get boosted sales for the campaign, multi-channel marketing that will do everything from paper, posters, billboards, sandwich boards, tent cards, literally the whole county soon is going to be plastered. You're going to see my logo soon everywhere because of the holiday campaign, trying to get people to be local. And then it's also a great customer service tool. And so what I mean by this, some of the things that are part of our Keep It Local for the Holidays program, you'll see that upper image, the Wonderland card is what it's most well known for, which every time somebody spends $10 at a participating business, they get one of the squares stamped off. And then once they get their card all filled out, they have a chance to win $1,000. So it's kind of a fun incentive to get people to be local for the holidays. And then the lower image is something brand new we're doing this year. And that is what's called the 30 Days of Deal calendar. So as you can see, each of those tiles are kind of covered, and you scratch it off and it reveals a deal to a local business. And so all the local businesses that want to participate in this calendar, they just have some kind of offer. And then each day of December, you scratch it off. The deal is good for a week and then one-time use. And then the special surprise at the end is that all the deals will be available one more time use all through January. So it's kind of a fun card to take around for people to get some local deals and incentivize them even more to shop local for the holidays. Last year, we had a really popular and record-breaking year. We had 84 participating businesses and organizations, and it brought in $391,000 of local spending with the Wonderland card. So I'm excited to do it again this year. My goal is to top it. So we welcome all local businesses. So you could be a home business, you could be a storefront business, you could be a farm, you could be an artisan. Everybody is welcome to participate in this campaign. And if you have any questions around it, I can send you all the materials that dive into this more. My email is there at the bottom. And then the next slide, our other host of the class is the Columbia County SBDC. And I don't know if I saw Jason come in. I know he's oftentimes meeting people, but I'll present on this. So the Columbia County SBDC is a small business development center, and it's part of a Oregon-wide and actually national-wide small business development network that basically offers educational resources for businesses. And importantly, the center isn't just for startup businesses, but it's also for growing businesses and mature businesses. All these services are for any business basically in the county. And what Jason does is he does free one-on-one confidential business advising. He can talk to you about making a business plan or making your loan application more attractive. He even has a background in credit unions, so he's really good at that. Also marketing, accounting, financing, And then we've done even things like businesses we're trying to find a location and trying to help them with that, or like maybe with their managing landlords or things like that. So it's a great resource to talk to and get free one-on-one confidential advising. And so Jason's out there. This is a brand new resource. In case if you haven't heard of it, it's because it just launched in February, and we're really happy because this is the very first center to be brought to Oregon in 10 years. And it's the only center that's not connected to a community college, which actually makes us really nimble and flexible. And so it's really great. And we're excited to have this as another resource as part of our team. And so those are the two hosts. And now I'm going to hand it over to Jen, who is our speaker today.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see some of you. I know I met some of you last time, so thank you for joining us again. And I just love seeing some more familiar faces. But I do work with Pioneer Utility Resources based out of Hillsboro, and I currently live in Waco, Texas, but I was chatting with Sierra. I've kind of lived all over, so that's just like my current home, but I've lived all over the United States. So I did live in Portland when I was younger, so it's been a while, but I do remember that. So I'm glad to be back with some familiar faces. And today we're going to be discussing Google My Business, but before we kick that off, we just wanted to get a chance to also meet all of you. So I'll throw it up back to you, Sierra.
Yes, so this is just a chance for everyone to kind of get to know one another. So if you want to throw in the chat your name and your business or organization that you're representing, that would be fabulous. And one thing too is that this helps me. So as the last class of this series, I've been keeping track every class of everyone that's been participating, because we have an incentive that if you attend 5 classes, you get a free listing on our new website, which will be launching excitingly next month. And it's like a featured listing. So every business could be on the website for free, but this is a featured listing that helps them be elevated. It's a $200 value. And so all the businesses that have been participating and attended 5 classes, I'll be in contact with you soon. I love to see everyone that's coming in. Yes. Hello, Shelly and Leah. Always happy that you two are participating. And Susanna, thank you, Sassahome, for participating in the holidays. I'm excited. Ooh. Hello, Tanya. Hey, Kathleen and Raven and Jillian. Excited to have everyone. And congratulations, Hannah, on the new part of the business with the glamping. That's so cool. Sweet. Well, thank you everybody for putting yourselves in there, and continue to put yourself. I'm happy you all are here and able to make it today. And throughout the presentation, again, if you ever want to have questions or you ever have like comments that you want to throw in the chat of what's worked for you, this is a great experience to not just learn from Jen, but we can also learn from one another. So feel free to use these tools to chime in. And so I'll hand it right back to you, Jen.
Thanks. It's awesome to see such a diverse group of business owners and leaders. So I think you'll find this applicable to all of you, no matter what area you're in. But today we are going to talk about Google My Business. It is absolutely essential so that you show up in a search. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, because sometimes it can be a little bit confusing, but we're going to discover the importance of this tool and how we can maximize it. So today we're going to cover what is Google My Business, how Google My Business is different from just a Google business profile, and how to create an account, and how to optimize your SEO and improve your business authority and relevancy. So first things first, you do need a Google business profile, and good news is that's free. All you have to do is go to Google. You can create, if you don't already have it, a Google email for your business, even if it's not something that you want to use for your email. It kind of makes you create that, but then you have your Google business profile. And the reason you want that is because then you're going to show up on all sorts of searches, maps, and everything. So it's just one part of the puzzle. So if for some reason your business doesn't have that you are going to want to take a note to make that today. It is free. It's just as easy as like logging onto Google and setting it up, kind of like you would set up your free email, but you make it for your business and it'll just walk you through the steps. So that's the first step. But that's not the only step. Once you have that, you want to create a Google My Business account. The reason why is that 64% of consumers have used Google My Business to find local details and contact details for their local businesses. So we want to make sure that your business is showing up. It's the only way, by creating a Google My Business account, that you can claim ownership of your Google business profile. And once you've created it, you can access, customize, manage, and enhance your business profile on Google. And it's all free. So it's super easy to set up if you don't already have one. Google search results are becoming more and more robust, with answer boxes, related questions, and even results appearing in the suggested drop-down menu. So you want to make sure that you have this tool to help your business grow. So the benefits of Google My Business, first, it boosts sales because you will show up in Google Maps searches. And 86% of people use Google Maps to locate businesses nearby. And just a little story about that. One of our clients had 2 businesses, and they only had a Google My Business profile for their main business. And they could not figure out why, when people Googled their secondary business, it wasn't coming up, but it's because they had only created that one Google My Business profile. So their secondary business, which they were still running out of the same location, when people went to look at where is it, what is it, it wouldn't even show up. So as soon as we created this account for them, all of a sudden it was almost instantaneous. You could find it on Google Maps. So you want to make sure that you have that, so that when people search for anything, I know that I saw there's some dry cleaners, there's estheticians, there's all different kinds of local businesses, whatever it is that someone's searching for, we want to make sure your business appears locally and that they're coming to you. Another reason is, once you have a Google My Business, you become a part of Google's 3-pack. If you're not sure what that is, I know you've all seen it. So when you go to Maps and you type a business in, it'll pop up the 3, like if you were to put dry cleaner near me, it'll pop up the 3 closest ones. And that's kind of what the Google 3-pack is. And you want to make sure that you come up as the first position. And that your business is showing. So if you don't have a Google My Business, you won't show up at all. So you want to make sure that you've got that, so that when people are Googling, you know, a restaurant nearby or whatever the business is nearby, that you're coming up as one of those top 3 searches that they can choose from in Google Maps to click on and visit. It also builds trust with customers. Brands that show up on Google are almost 3 times more likely to be considered reputable by consumers. It also will boost your ratings. You'll start to collect more reviews and higher overall ratings, which helps you gain the competitive edge. It will help increase your website traffic, because your listing will show up when most people use Google. So your listing will show up, which will help increase traffic to your website. And if you have a storefront, in-store visits, and you will rank higher in results. When people search for you, you want to rank higher so that people are looking at your business before others. It helps increase engagement on your website, and it's free. So it's essentially free advertising. So especially with small businesses, we're all about free. So this is a great tool to take advantage of if you've not, because it doesn't cost anything. And it does help you stand out from your competitors. If you've got a good description of your business, it really helps show your unique value. So there are some frequently asked questions that I just wanted to go over a little bit. But for example, say your business doesn't have a storefront. Can you still have a business profile? Absolutely. You don't have to have a physical address to make in-person contact with customers. You can just set that up when you do your My Business profile. But of course, if you do, you want to make sure that physical address is in there so that you show up on Google Maps and that people can visit. Another frequently asked question is, should I create a business profile if I have a website? Absolutely. Just having a website does not ensure that you will show up in search results. We found that, like that client that I shared with you that had 2 businesses, and both of them had their own website, but the second one wasn't showing up because he hadn't created a Google My Business for it. And it was, again, almost instantaneous. Once we made it, all of a sudden he started showing up. So you want to make sure you have that. And then what's the difference between a business profile and Google Places for Business, Google Business Profile, Google Listings? So it's all the same thing. It's just business profiles have replaced Google Places. So as we know, in the digital world, Google and Facebook are constantly changing. So it's just, the new name is business profile. So if you've heard those other terms, it's all the same thing now. So first thing first, you set up your profile. So today is the best day to do it if you don't have one. And once you've created your Google Business Profile, then you set up your Google My Business account, and it just walks you through it step by step. It's very simple. And then once you've done that, you can start optimizing your SEO, which is great. So when you're in there, it does ask you to provide accurate and up-to-date details about your business. So you do want to put the most up-to-date and accurate listings that you can. So that would be, make sure you put a phone number. That does help your ranking, but it also, of course, you would want people to contact you. Your business hours helps your ranking show. So sometimes even for online companies, they think, oh, I don't really need to put my business hours because I'm online, but it does help your SEO. Your website, make sure you put that in your Google Business Profile, and your location or locations, your address, again, so you show up in maps, and what kind of business you are, so that when area customers search for, say, whatever it is they're looking for, your business comes up.
Jen, could you also explain what is search engine optimization and SEO?
Oh, sure. So we are going to get into that a little bit more, but SEO does stands for search engine optimization. And that just means we've all gone to Google and we've Googled something, and the very first things you see are ads. Usually it'll say sponsored under that, and that's where people have paid for their listing to show up first. And then right underneath that, it'll start showing you the other things that you, whatever it was you Googled. So if someone Googles, you know, whatever it is they're looking for, a local business, we want to make sure that you come up, and you can pay for an ad, and then you'll ensure that you come up, but Google ads are kind of pricey. But for free, to make sure you come up, you just need to make sure that you have a Google business and a Google profile. And it just is a way for when people type your business into a search engine that you want to show up at the top. You don't want to be on the second or third page, because when I think about when I Google something, I hardly ever click onto that second Google page. I'm just looking at what are the first couple options. Okay, let me pick this one if I'm looking for a doctor's office or to do my taxes or whatever it is that I want to look for locally. So we want to make sure your business comes up there. So we are going to talk about ways to improve that SEO. It can be very technical. I actually attended a course where we learned what Google's formula was. It was like over a page long, all the things that they look for to help your business improve SEO. But we're going to break it down to very easily digestible pieces. But basically, you want to have a website, you want it to be up to date, you want it to have access to any information your customer would want. You want a Google business profile so that when your customers or the people that you're targeting Google or type in a search engine your business, you show up, and you show up high. Your rank, that's your ranking, you show up above others. So one of the best ways to do that is to make sure that you have a really compelling description of your business. So you want it to include everything that you offer, because if someone's looking for something like a really niche thing, but you offer that, if that's in your description, that's going to help bring you up when they type that into a search engine, which usually is Google. And don't forget, I'm sorry, Sierra.
Oh, yeah. One other question that's been asked is that one business, like a local florist, was looking through all the options of how to profile their business, and they found that when profiling, they didn't see the florist option. It only put like designer. Is there any good way to get around those kind of limited choices?
Right now there's not, because I think Google makes you pick one of those. But when you continue walking through those steps, it will ask you to describe your business in detail, and you want to make sure there that you put, yes, you're a florist, what kind of floral services do you offer, up to even like what kind of flowers you have or plants. So that's all included. Google will still include that in your business profile, and that will still help the search. And there is a way, Google's constantly updating that. So a good rule of thumb is just to kind of review your business profile every year, every 6 months, to see if maybe they release florist as a business where before that wasn't a choice. Because as we know, it changes all the time. And that's another thing we're going to talk about, is just constantly refreshing not only your website, but just getting in your Google business, and just, you can put photos in there. You're going to want to refresh those every year, just and review it. So that's a good thing to, if you have a slow season, to just set yourself kind of like a calendar reminder to go back through and kind of look at that. But when you type in, it lets you type in details. That's kind of where you would put in florist, and then you would make sure that you have that specifically listed on your website as well. And that's kind of a workaround until Google kind of has more options, I guess, for specific businesses.
Yeah. And Shelley has her hand raised.
This might be a question that might take more time, and I can ask it at the end, but I have a Google listing. I've had it for several years, and I had a studio in a certain location in Portland, Oregon. And during the pandemic, I lost it. I couldn't afford it. And so I'm now working out of my home. And so I have a business PO box that I can receive business mail at, but I do not want my physical new business address to show up in a Google search. Is there a way to indicate that I'm open, by appointment only, please contact me, and not have the general public seeing where I live?
Right. So they don't show up at your door. Well, I think for that, there is, there's a hybrid option. You just have to kind of go in there and play with it, where you could push them over to your website. But you could just put it as a PO box now. And in the details, just make sure you kind of put contact, if yours, I'm assuming your business is mostly online now.
No, I make, I'm a professional, a custom sewer. So I make stuff. I meet with people all the time. So it's a physical connection that I make with people all the time.
Okay, but you just don't want your home address to show up? Is that where? Okay. I would put in the PO box, and that way that would also kind of let people know, to contact you. But there is a way, and I'm happy to chat with you about that later, or we could walk through later just kind of how to optimize that for your specific situation.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, but you can do that. So that's good. It's good to know. So
Yeah. And to chime in too, with Keep It Local, we don't really have an address. We service the whole county. And so what I've done for our Google My Business listing is that instead of having a location, you can actually see the service area. So when you look up Keep It Local Columbia County, you'll see like it shows all Columbia County, and that's what the location is. So there is the possibility to also have it just show your like service area.
absolutely. Yeah, that might be another great option too, to let people know in your area that you offer sewing services. So great. Are there any more questions, Sierra, or?
Good to go.
Okay. So again, with your profile, when you create it, if you don't have one, make sure you've claimed it, you completed every section of it, and you can always go back and edit it. So that's good to know. So if things have changed due to the pandemic, today would be a great time to go back and kind of tweak that a little bit. And it does say be very meticulous with your contact information. So you want it to be as fine-tuned to you as possible, but you can fix it, like we just talked about, for certain situations. Make sure you select primary and secondary categories. It will walk you through those steps, just to make sure that you are reaching as many people as possible. Mark off applicable attributes, and it will list those for you. Write a complete from the business description. So that's really important. You really want your business description to be very specific and include everything that you could possibly offer. You don't want to leave anything out. So the more the better for that. You can publish Google Post weekly. That's free, and it does help a little bit. You can upload new photos weekly to Google My Business, and that does help as well, just kind of keep your business fresh and new. So that might be something weekly. I know for a lot of small business owners is hard because you're doing social, you're doing your website, you're doing Google My Business. But if you have, 30 extra minutes a week where you can just kind of get in there and freshen things up, that does help your SEO, your search engine optimization rating and ranking. Make sure you answer the questions, and collect and respond to reviews. So reviews are very important. Obviously, we want good reviews. So if you can encourage people to fill out reviews, that does help your ranking. And you also, if you respond to them, because it just shows that just like on social, you're interacting and you're online and and it's all part of that huge long formula that Google uses to figure out where your business appears on a search. The next thing we're going to talk about is boosting your authority online. So your website authority comes from reviews, links, and overall search engine optimization, SEO. So you want all of those to be as good as possible. So you want to verify your location and contact information, not just in Google My Business, but you want to make sure that's on your website as well. You add real photos and videos of your business, not stock photos, because that will help with your SEO, your search engine optimization. Encourage and answer Google reviews and questions. So if you're not actively encouraging anyone that uses your business to do a Google review, now's a great time to start doing that, because it does improve your ranking. And make sure you keep your information up to date. So kind of what we talked about, but if you can set a calendar reminder every 6 months to a year, or even more, just to weekly would be ideal, to make sure that everything on there is as fresh, new, up to date, current as possible, because that's going to really help your authority online. So a quick note on authority, your Google business profile gives you the chance to add photos, videos, posts, and services directly. So that's kind of free marketing that not a lot of people have taken full advantage of that, but it's a great tool. It's just another way to add more information about your business that's free. It will help your SEO. So if you've not taken advantage of that, that's another great resource that will just improve your authority online. And when it comes to Google reviews, the more reviews are the better, but don't panic if you get an occasional bad review. I think for most customers that shows that you're a real business, and if you respond professionally, it's not going to hurt you in the long run at all. So if holidays are a good time, as people are coming, if you ask them to do a review, and there's a lot of strategies for that I'm happy to chat with you offline, or if you've got questions about on how to get more reviews, but those are very important. So to improve your listing, you want to be relevant. This is probably the most important factor. So you want to use relevant keywords on your website. So another part of making sure your authority online is the best it can be isn't just having a Google My Business account, but making sure that your website includes as much information as possible about your business, because Google also will use that. So you don't want anything left out. The more pages you can use on your website, the better, as long as people are visiting them. So Google does favor additional pages as long as you can drive people to those pages and there's relevant information that they need. So you can improve that by uploading photos of your products and services. So make sure you've got that on your website. Use the right buttons relevant to your business, and utilize the attributes section of Google My Business. So you just want to make sure you've got all of that together. It's really going to help. You can improve your relevancy rating by being very specific, again, about the services and products you offer. So if you own a restaurant, you want to have your menu uploaded, as many photos as possible. You really want it to be very catered. So for example, Shelly, with your sewing business, if as many photos as you could have of things that you've created, and make sure you list every single type of thing that you can sew or that you are able to sew, even if a customer hasn't taken you up on it yet. That will improve your search engine optimization, because you never know who might be looking for that one, might be Googling that one specific thing. And if you've got it listed on your website or in Google My Business, it'll pull you up on that search, which is what we want. So another example was, if you sell handmade gifts, make sure you have all of everything you can possibly think of on your website, and refresh it, as much as you can. And if you have a service-based business, make sure you list every service possible in your profile. And a pro tip is just to verify your exact location. If you want to show up on the Near Me search results, you have to verify your address. It's a simple step that garners big results. So sometimes, people just put in restaurant near me, or doctor near me, or dry cleaner near me. So if you've got your exact location, it will pull that up. And it's, again, a free tool. So just spending a few hours to launch, if you've not yet, your Google My Business profile, or to go back in and tweak it a little bit, will give you drastic improvement in local search results. And the good news is it's all free. So that's a good positive. And here are some great tools that can help you succeed. Google Ads does help your SEO. They're not cheap, but if you've got some extra money and you can run some Google Ads over the holidays, that will improve your search engine optimization over time. It is a slow race. Search engine optimization is not something you can win overnight, but if you've got money in your small business budget to run a couple of those, that can help. There is a free Google Marketing Kit online that, again, offers some other resources, as well as a Google Keyword Planner. And you really want to make sure that any keyword that pertains to your business, you've got listed on your Google site and on your website, because that's, again, going to help when people are searching for your services and products. So you want to, again, continually add posts, update your settings, and include seasonal products or discounts. So Google values high quality, up-to-date, and relevant information. So for example, we just launched a client's business a couple years ago, and it's doing really well, but the website we launched for them is, it's 2 years old. And even though the graphics are great and the pictures are great, Google does value keeping it as up to date as possible. So what we're going to do for them is we're going to go through and just kind of refresh those images, because that's going to help their SEO, because we don't want them to fall behind a competitor on our ranking on a search engine. So if you've not refreshed some of your images, either in your Google My Business or on your website, especially coming up for the holidays, would be a great time to do that, just to help improve your overall ranking. And so just to go over some of the things on the slide, to improve your chances of being seen, make sure you keep, as we said, your information updated. You check on keyword trends, kind of what's trending with your specific industry. You produce high quality content. You avoid keyword stuffing. If you don't know what keyword stuffing is, then you're probably not doing it, but it can shut your website down, where you just fill in a bunch of keywords that aren't necessarily relevant, that you don't offer, or you can fill it in like the back of your website, and that's highly discouraged. So that's kind of gone away. So I don't really think that would be an issue for most of us, but I did want to mention it. And of course, encourage engagement on your website. So the more people you can get visiting your website, the higher Google values that. A great way to do that is blogging. I know blogging has been around forever, or vlogging. But if you can write a blog and have it linked to your website, anything to drive people to your website will help. Or if you have a newsletter, an e-newsletter that you send out to your customers, but it has a button or a call to action or anything that we can, once they see this email, you want to just give them just enough to where they want to click on your website to learn more. You don't want to give them all that information in the newsletter to where they wouldn't feel like they needed to go to your website. You always want to be driving people to your website, even with your socials. So I know last time I see a lot of familiar faces from when we did the social presentation, but when you're thinking about social, anything you can do, you should always have a link to your website to get people to click on your website, visit your website. That's going to help as well.
One question is, how can we make our business more available to be found on potential customers when they seek products via voice, like Siri or Cortana or Amazon Alexa?
Well, I think that all just kind of goes into search engine optimization. It's all, kind of there. Google, of course, is different than, say, Siri or Alexa, but I would say making sure your website has as much information as possible. So anything that you think somebody might ask into Siri or ask Alexa, you want to make sure you have that information on your website. Because I think we've all asked, I know I ask my Alexa 100 questions a day, and it'll answer me and it'll say, according to, and it'll list a website. So that would be great if that was your website. So again, that's where having a lot of relevant information on your website will help. Blogging, because sometimes it's hard to put all that. So if you have a blog that makes sense for maybe what your customers are looking for during each season, and you could just put as much information in that as possible and link it to your website, that could help too.
Yeah, and kind of going into that too, a second question that was asked around that is like where to put that kind of information. Should it be on the homepage and somewhere else?
It depends on how relevant it is. Of course, on your homepage, you can always put big buttons where they can click on different pages, and that does actually help your ranking. If people don't just visit your website, but once they're there, they click and use it. So it doesn't necessarily need to be on the homepage, but it needs to be a very easy to use website. That homepage should probably take you to a main description and then have really easily clickable buttons to where they can click through and find that information. And it'll just take them to a different page on your website. And kind of like what I said, Google does favor a lot of pages, as long as they're used and there's not broken links on them, and they're updated and people click on them, that does help. So if you can have that all on your website, any of those things, So if there's, for example, the holidays, you can have a holiday piece, or I'm just thinking different. I think it's also specific to a certain small business, but it doesn't necessarily have to be on the homepage, but you just want to make sure you've got buttons at the top or something at the top to where people would click. It's almost sometimes better if they can find it and then they have to click through your website for more. Google favors that, but then again, of course, you've got their attention, they're on your site, they're looking through things, and that's ultimately what you want as a small business owner. Okay. Were there any more questions here?
That's it, but these are all great questions. Feel free to keep asking.
Yes, thank you guys. So again, the most probably asked about with this is SEO, and we touched on this a little bit earlier, but again, that stands for search engine optimization. Just basically, where does your small business appear when someone types in what they're looking for into a search engine? Usually that's Google. However, they could ask Alexa or they could ask other things. So how do we improve that to make sure your small business shows up? So if you're, I think we've done a lot of explaining about SEO, but we have a good friend, Tim, from the Hook Agency that made a great explanatory video that we're going to send this PowerPoint out that you can watch later if you've got some very specific questions. But we've kind of touched on all of the things from that, just explaining how your business shows up, and you want yours to show up pretty high at our search, because people aren't going to, they're busy, look through all 50 listings. They're going to look at those top 3 and click on them and find something that suits their needs. So for small businesses, you really want to frame your website as the central spot for subject matter when it comes to what a person would search for in relation to your business. So again, just making sure your website has everything you could possibly put in there. It's relevant. Everything's updated as much as possible. So for example, if I'm a small business owner in Veronica and I own my own plumbing company, something that Google would highly favor in a ranking is if you put either on a blog that links to your website or directly on your website, 10 things to ask when choosing a Verona plumber. And it would be a question and answer kind of thing. Those are really great. And you could cater that to whatever your business is, because those questions and answers are probably going to have a lot of keywords in there. And it also kind of makes you look like the authority on plumbing, or if whatever your company is, just insert that name. And so if you could kind of make a 10 things to ask when choosing and whatever your business is, and have like just a bulleted question and answer, that's really going to help improve your SEO. And another great thing to know on your website is you can write an outline format when possible. You know, you don't want to put a bunch of text on a website because people aren't going to read that. If they go to that homepage and it's just full of text, they're going to get overwhelmed. So if you can break it up in bullets and then, you know, have buttons where they click and it takes them to a different page with more information, that helps. And it's also much more user-friendly for whoever it is that you're targeting. You want to use key phrases in your headings above your bullet points to help Google understand that your content subject matter is on point with the key phrase. So if it's your sewing business, you know, whatever you want to have a heading, and then specifically, you know, like these are the services we offer, boom, 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 and a little bit of description underneath each one. And you want to make sure it's relevant. So Google is smarter than us, and we don't want to try to outsmart them, because they will penalize us if you put things on your website that you don't actually offer or isn't really something that's relevant to whatever the services are, just to try to drive people to your business, which most small businesses don't do, but some people have done that before, and it actually hurts them. So you just want to make sure that everything you have is as many services as you offer, that you don't have anything on there that you don't offer, as many pictures, again, keeping it updated. It doesn't all have to be on the home page. You can have multiple pages where they click on, but just easy, user-friendly, large graphics, not a lot of text, a lot of keywords is ideal. And your domain name does matter. If your phrase is more competitive, consider a domain and even potentially a business name like the town you live in, florist.com. So we just use that example of Scappoose, rather than just saying Edith's Flowers, because no one searches for Edith's Flowers. They're going to search for the town they live in and a florist. So if you can somehow include that in your business name, that will help. Your domain name for your website will improve your ranking overall when people are searching for you. And that doesn't necessarily even mean that you have to change the name of your business. You can just change your domain, your website domain name. Because I know some people have asked that. Well, this is already my business name and I already have it in an LLC and I have all the things. And if there's a way for you to kind of tie in your area with the name of your business, you could change your domain name to that without having to change your whole. I mean, you could still be Edith's Flowers, but your website is a little different, just to pull people there. And again, SEO, if we're doing it right, we want to make sure that we're consistent. So for example, here at Pioneer, when we do blogs, our team may say on one blog, utility web design. But then next time we write a blog, we might say electric cooperative website design. And that just helps ensure we're saturating the internet with different phrases that any of those could pull up. So just keep that in mind. Blogging, like I said, is a great tool. If you haven't started it, you don't have to write a ton. You can write a blog. It doesn't have to be very long. You can repurpose that blog for social. You can repurpose that blog for a newsletter, and then you can tie it to your website. But just think of kind of the wording that applies to your specific business for one blog. And then when you write a new one, try to just tweak that language a little bit differently to where it still describes your business, but it's not the exact same language. Because again, you never know exactly what someone's going to type in a Google search bar. And so anything that someone might want to type in, you want to make sure that you've got that tied to your website so that it pulls you up. So again, that's why we kind of use utility web design. And next time we write a blog, we might say electric cooperative web design, because that kind of describes us, Pioneer, our company. So anything, we're not exactly sure what our internet user is going to type in. So anything that describes us, we want to make sure we've got those words tied to our website.
Jen, referring to the last point on the last slide, one person asked, is it preferred to own a few domain names related to their business? We purchased a few domain names and they all send the customer to our main domain.
I think that would probably, yes, help if you have the ability to purchase more than one of those. I know that's a cost thing, depending on how cheap the domain is, but that could help too, because that will, again, depending on what they type in, drive you to your website. So I think that is a great tip. Thank you for sharing that. If you have the funds and the availability to purchase a couple other domain names that all go to your website.
Cool. And then Gail asks blogs ... old, probably I think inferring that not very many people read blogs, but where and how to do. So could you talk a little bit about like why are blogs relevant still and how to do it?
Sure. I know that's what I thought too. When I hear blogs, like that takes me back to like the early 2000s or something, but it really does help your search engine optimization. So there are a variety there's so many blogging websites that you can either pay to host your blog on and then they tie to your website, or there's some free ones out there too. And again, a quick Google search, depending on what field you're in, would help you. But just a blog could be I'm just going to use a floral example. So if you offer holiday flowers, and they're very unique for the holidays, you could write a blog on maybe here's the ones we offer and some tips on how to style one, and use the names of all the flowers you offer. Make sure you've got the name of your business in there, anything. And that's just out on the internet, floating, tied to your website, so that when anyone might Google any of those things, or even like how to make a floral design, if they put that in near you, it will pull your page up, which would be really helpful. So if you want to just type in free blogging sites, I would probably start with there's a couple that are free, and it just depends on your specific business which one would be the best, but I'm happy to kind of help you pick one if you want to email me after this. And I know it does seem kind of like archaic, but Google really does. It's a great way to get all those words out on the internet, and Google does favor that for search engine. And you could just take that to then, if you're a florist, your spring flowers change every season, but if you're a restaurant and you've got a changing menu, or you're a spa, sometimes people want different services, different times of the year. So each blog could kind of just be relevant for that specific time, but it always lives on the internet. It never goes away. So it's just a good way to have those keywords that you offer out there. So when people type that in, it pulls your business up. Did I explain that well? Are there some more questions on that?
Yeah, there was one follow-up on it. One person said that their website has its own blog page inside of it. So would it be more beneficial to have it within the website or separated?
As far as Google's intense calculations, I don't think it matters. Like, you can embed it in your website if you've already got that, that's great. For some small businesses that are just using like WordPress or don't have that capability, then a free blogging website is good. But if you've got, like that page that has it, I think that's great too. So I don't really think there's a right or wrong way to do it, but I would just say do it because I think it will really help. So if you're not currently doing a blog, I highly suggest that too. So in addition to making I think most of you probably have a Google business profile, but if you don't, today's a great day to make that, and then just start thinking about what you could write your next blog on, and use a great picture of your products, talk about your products, and then make sure that's living somewhere on the internet, whether it's on your website or another hosted page that links to your website, because that's all going to help.
Awesome. And then David also threw that some domains are like $5. So anyone that wants to like go for that strategy too, there might be affordable ones specifically for you.
Yes, that's a great tip, David. Thank you. And then of course you can hire someone to improve your SEO for small businesses if you've got the funds for that. If you do that, make sure you check their references, look into the longevity of the relationships they have with their clients. Again, for them, check the Better Business Bureau or Google reviews on them. And the number one tip, I think, for SEO is that you do have to be a little patient, whether you work on it yourself. Like, we've offered a lot of tips for how you can just do it today yourself if you're not quite there, or you can hire someone. It's not a quick fix. It is a slow game if done right, but it will really improve your business over time. So it starts with just making sure everything is out there for your business on your website, on Google, in a blog, on social that's tied to your website. It all comes together. And that's it. So I was just, are there any last questions or any questions on any of the slides we've gone over? You guys have had great questions and tips, so I really appreciate that.
Yes, Jamie.
I do have one question, and I don't know if it's something that you can answer right now, but on Google, when we are searched up by our business name, because we have technically two entities on the same property, so we do have two separate addresses, but one ends with a 7, one ends with an 8. And when it gets searched up, we can only search or find our address listed under the cemetery side, but not our actual church. Do you guys have any suggestions on how to contact like Google Maps so that they can sort out what the actual addresses are? Because I've tried emailing them and all sorts of things, and I can never get in contact with anyone that can change it.
Does both of them have a business profile, like the church has one and the cemetery? Do they both have one?
Profile wise, I don't know. I haven't set up any Google My Business accounts for either one of them. But if you search up, for example, Yankton Hillcrest Cemetery, it'll pop up. But if you look up Yankton Community Fellowship, the church side of it, Yankton Hillcrest Cemetery is the only one that comes up.
And we've had that problem with a couple businesses that have two businesses with the same or close by address, and Google's not the greatest when you try to contact them. So I would recommend, what we were able to do was we realized that second business did not have a Google profile filled out. So we filled it out, and then I think I kind of shared like immediately it started showing up correctly with the right address. So you might want to double check that both the church and the cemetery have one. And if not, go ahead and create one and make sure you put in very specific information for the church versus the cemetery and the addresses. And that should help clear it up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Great question. Any others? Sweet. All right. And so just the last few things. And so I'm right now uploading the slides. And so some helpful resources that you can see, and there'll be links to these resources. They have from analytics. And so if you want to access those, the slides will be uploaded very soon. And then next slide. So this series has been made possible by Business Oregon, which we really appreciate their support. And particularly because this is the last class, our last survey is kind of just an overall look. So if you've attended one or any of the classes in the marketing series, please take this survey. I've included a link. It takes just about like 2 minutes. And I would really, really appreciate this because we're planning to do this whole marketing series again in winter. And so it's going to be from January to March is what we're planning. And so I would love suggestions about topics that we could talk about. I'd love to hear what's worked, what we can improve on. I love success stories. So if anybody's been taking these classes and they've like applied some of these things, I would love to hear those kinds of stories and see how this has helped people. And so if you could please take this survey, that would be very, very helpful for our program so that we can make the next time we go around even better for everyone. And so I threw that link right up above. And then if you go into next slide. So that wraps up everything. And so thank you all so much for participating in the Marketing for Success series. I'm so happy to have you all here. And I'm going to turn off the recording here soon, but if you have any more questions, feel free to stay